Good morning. Today is Tuesday, January 16th, 2024. About 32 years ago, I had the privilege to hear Rabbi David Hartman speak in person. Some of you knew him from Montreal when he was a rabbi at TBDJ. I knew him from studying with him at Hebrew University. I also knew him from his frequent visits to Yale University. But on this night, he spoke to us, a group of rabbis from North America. He spoke to us in Jerusalem. And as usual, he was spellbinding. And I'd like to share with you, because it came out on this week's Torah portion, the Parsha Bo, I'd like to share with you what he said. He first asked about the order of events in the book of Shemos, in the book of Exodus. And he said it's intriguing. Why is it, he asked, that there is first an exodus from Egypt, and then there's a revelation at Sinai? The revelation at Sinai is where the entire Jewish people heard God speak, understood to a certain extent what God wants of us, created this intimate connection with God. Wouldn't it have made more sense? Would it not have made more sense the other way? The revelation should have come first. The Jewish people should have had some way to connect to God, to know with a certainty the reality of God and what God expects, and to have a connection with God. And then, connected to God, then emerge from Egypt as a people to serve God. So he started his answer by quoting from the Haggadah, the Passover text that we use at the Seder. And in that, we have a famous passage, Keneged Arba Banim Dibur Torah. The Torah speaks in response to four different types of children, the comments or the questions of four different types of children. And we have a Chacham, and we have a Rasha, and three of the quotes that we give in answer to these children are from our Torah portion. This one is. And we start with the Rasha. Rasha Mahu Omer. The wicked son, what does he say? Now, then the Haggadah quotes a pasuk from our Torah portion. Ma ha'avoda hazos lachem. What is this work that you're doing? What is this service that you are doing? What is this Passover that you are preparing? And from those words, which, by the way, are words in our Torah portion, the Haggadah deduces that this child is, God forbid, an evil child. What's so bad about what this child said? The child only quoted a pasuk in this week's parsha. Moha voda hazos lachem. What is this work that you're doing? There's nothing in the words itself that indicate any kind of anger or illegitimacy in this question. So our sages say, well, it's because he excludes himself. Lachem v'lo. This is now the commentary of the Haggadah. He asks, what is the work that you're doing, not what is the work that we're doing. So he excludes himself. You go about preparing for Passover. What is that stuff that you're doing? And the Haggadah says, Lefi shehosi et atzmo min haklal, because he excludes himself from the group. He does not see himself as a part of Klal Yisrael, Bnei Yisrael, the Jewish people. Kafar be'ikr. He has denied the principal foundation of faith. He is a heretic. It seems very strange. First of all, the words that he says are a pasuk in the Torah. He quotes a pasuk in the Torah. And second of all, he excluded himself. You go there, I'm going to stay here. So what? How is that so terrible? To be called a heretic? Let's go to a different question. And I know this is a question that a lot of people ask. Why should a Jewish person who wants to pray come to shul? Why not pray alone? And many of us do pray alone. But why not make that the standard? What's wrong with that? As many of us have learned over the last several years, sometimes if I'm alone praying in my own house, I can feel a deeper sense of connection to God, a more direct, personal sense of prayers, and I'm not distracted by all the other noise. And if I go to shul, somebody's going to want to walk in front of me, and I've got to listen to the person davening that I might not like the way they're listening to. I have to put up all sorts of stuff with other people around. Why can't I just pray on my own? And of course, you can pray on your own, but it's not the ideal. Why is it not the ideal? The answer is because when a person prays with a minyan, and this applies to men and to women, when a person prays with a minyan, that means that that minyan is connected with every other minyan in the entire world. And not only every entire minyan in the entire world, but every minyan that ever did exist and every minyan that will exist. Connecting to a minyan means at this moment, I am seeing myself as part of Klal Yisrael, the greater, eternal Jewish people. It is Klal Yisrael that stands before God. If I stand before God in prayer on my own, I'm scrutinized. Maybe I'm worthy that my prayers should be accepted. Maybe I'm not. I have to admit to myself, if I am scrutinized, I don't know what kind of a chance I have. But when I stand as part of a minyan, so that not only am I standing with these individuals in the room in physical proximity, but with every other group of Jews everywhere in the world, of all time, Klal Yisrael is indeed worthy. It passes any scrutiny. And so if I can attach to Klal Yisrael, then I know with a certainty that my words are accepted on a level that is much, much different than if I have to be evaluated as an individual. The heresy of this son of the Haggadah is that he or she thinks that they can have their own relationship with God, independent of being part of Klal Yisrael. What do I need the Jewish people? I can keep kosher, I can keep Shabbos, I can do the mitzvahs, I can pray to God, I can do it all by myself at home. I could go out into the woods and have my place and be by myself. I don't have to get involved with any Jews. For a Jewish person, that's a heresy, because that person misunderstands how we connect with God. We do not connect with God primarily as individuals. We connect to God primarily because God has a relationship with Klal Yisrael, the Jewish people. And if I'm part of Klal Yisrael, I partake in that relationship. And that's why the order of the events in the book of Shemos had to be this way. First, there had to be the creation of Klal Yisrael. That's what happens in the Exodus. The Exodus from Egypt creates a Jewish people united with a single goal. Then that Klal Yisrael can go to meet God in the encounter at Sinai. Because God's encounter on that level is not available to any individual. It's only available to the Klal. The complete revelation of God does not occur to any one of us. It occurs to all of us together. And each one of us partakes of it to the extent to which each of us is identified with the Klal. The pattern of the book of Shemos is in fact the pattern of Jewish identity first, and then encounter with God. If we want to approach God, if we want to understand God, if we want to be close to God, it must be through our connection with each other, with Klal Yisrael. Those are the experiences that connect us. Prayer within a synagogue, within a minyan, and other ways that we act as a klal, doing acts of chesed, of kindness and compassion for other people. Those actions that bind us together as a people, that creates the prerequisite in order for us to be able to have a relationship with God. And we find this pattern, which is the pattern for all Jews in Egypt going to Sinai. And this is also true for every individual going through the process of conversion to Judaism, which is learned from the same process of going from Egypt to Sinai. The Talmud says, if a person comes to convert to Judaism, and we're talking about a person who is converting for the right reasons and is going to be a righteous convert, and they're going to observe Jewish law to the best of their ability, a person who comes to convert, the first question we ask them, Ma ra'is shabas liskayar tachas hashchina? Why do you want to join the Jewish people? Fascinating. Our first question is not about God. It's not about belief. It's not about mitzvos. It's not about any of that stuff. Why do you want to be connected to the Jewish people? I would have thought, if I was designing a conversion program, I would have thought the first question should be about theology. Do you believe in God? What do you believe in God? Why do you want to have a closer connection with God? It would seem to me those are the primary questions. But the Talmud says no. And the Talmud says no based on the pattern of Shemos. What's your connection to the Jewish people? The Rav Yosef Soloveitchik, understands that this pattern is expressed in the words that Ruth says to Naomi in the beginning of the book of Ruth, which we understand the beginning passage of the book of Ruth provides the paradigm of the concept and the rules of conversion to Judaism. And Ruth says to her mother-in-law Naomi, Amech ami, your people are my people, ve'elokayach elokoi, and your God is my God. And the order is specific. First, your people have to be my people. First, I have to make a commitment. I want to be part of Klal Yisrael. I want to be part of the Jewish people. Only then can I hope for the second half, Elokayach Elokoi, to then have a connection with God, a relationship with God, because one must come after the other. We get a lot of people who come to our conversion program and they are motivated by theology. I've come to believe that there's one God. I've come to believe that the God of Israel is true, and I want to convert. Okay. How do you feel about the Jewish people? If the connection and the desire for connection to the Jewish people is not primary, the theological strivings themselves will not lead to conversion. A successful convert, just like a successful Jew, will see their closeness to God through their attachment to the Jewish people. This order of Shemos, first the people, and then first Exodus, and then Sinai, must always guide us in the order and in the content of our own Jewish identity. We need to understand what comes first and why. So I'll give you one quite dramatic, practical example of what we can do for each other as a people in order to bind us as a people, in order to be able to have this connection with God. I've shared with you a number of times before the eloquent and heartbreaking words of Rachel Goldberg-Polin in her constant advocacy to bring home her son Hirsch and the other hostages who are being held in Gaza. And the other day she said something truly remarkable. She said, "It will take a molecule of the weight that I am carrying off of me, knowing that you are carrying it as well." That's what it means to feel that you are a part of Klal Yisrael, the greater Jewish people. And that is how we encounter God. My friends, I wish you a great day, and I look forward to seeing you soon in person.